The Borderline, a story of wages, walls, and the world. In a small town shadowed by rusted factories and fading dreams lived a man named Jack. He was a forklift operator in his early 50s, proud, skilled, but weary. His father had once worked the same floor, earning enough to raise a family, buy a house, and retire with dignity. The wages hadn't risen like they used to. Jobs were fewer, benefits were tighter, and every year the faces in the factory grew more unfamiliar. At the diner, in whispers and complaints, the name to blame was always the same: immigrants. Jack wasn't angry, not yet, but he was curious. So he went home one night, poured a glass of whiskey, and searched, "Do immigrants really take our jobs?" The first voice he found was that of Paul Samuelson, a Nobel Prize-winning economist. Samuelson had warned that when more people enter the labor market, wages go down, especially for low-skilled workers like Jack. And in times when immigration was low, real wages soared. Jack nodded, it matched what he felt. But the next click challenged everything. Christian Dustman and Tommaso Frattini, two economists from Europe, had studied immigrants in the UK. Their research showed that immigrants were net contributors to public finances. They weren't draining the system, they were helping fund it. Jack raised an eyebrow. Brian Kaplan, another economist, chimed in. Immigrants, he said, were mostly young and hardworking. They paid taxes, supported pensions, and used fewer services than the elderly natives. Suddenly, Jack saw something he'd never considered. Maybe the system needed them. Maybe he needed them. Then came the paradoxical voice of Milton Friedman, the libertarian. Open borders, he said, could work, but not with a welfare state. His fear: people would come not for work, but for benefits. He even joked that illegal immigration might be the best kind. Workers who contribute without costing the system. Jack frowned. That sounded like gaming the system. But something about the idea of contribution stuck. He read on. In 1980, 100,000 Cubans landed in Florida during the Mariel boat lift. David Card studied it. Despite the shock, wages didn't fall. Unemployment didn't rise, Florida adapted. In the 1990s, Rachel Friedberg followed 600,000 Russian Jews to Israel. Again, no disaster. If anything, wages grew. Immigrants weren't perfect substitutes for native workers. They brought different skills, different dreams. And then Jack stumbled across a number he couldn't ignore. 65 trillion. That was the estimated increase in global GDP if borders were fully open, according to Lant Pritchett. Could that be true?